Tomorrow, 115 cardinals begin the sanctified and secret process of electing the next pope.
The Catholic Church is facing big changes, and all eyes are on Pope Francis and Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. Known for his compassion and down-to-earth leadership, Tagle has become a key figure in the Pope's mission to make the Church more inclusive and connected to everyday people.
Wanting to be faithful to Jesus's teaching, yet also being realistic and seeing.
But as the Church balances tradition and modern challenges, a bigger question arises. Could Tagle be the one to lead the next chapter of Catholicism? What would his leadership mean for the future of the Church? Reinventing the Church's mission. Pope Francis, elected more than 10 years ago, embarked on a journey that would redefine the papacy, weaving simplicity, humility, and compassion into his leadership. His unconventional approach transformed the Vatican into a platform for reform and dialogue. His vision was not just to lead the Church, but to reimagine its role, emphasizing a compassionate embrace of marginalized communities, the poor and the forgotten. From his first appearance on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, Francis signaled a stylistic shift.
Jorge Mario Bergoglio of Vatican TV capturing the moments before he greeted the world under his new name.
Dressed simply and asking the faithful to pray over him, he modeled humility and closeness to the people. Yet his vision went far beyond appearances. He urged clergy to shed clericalism, live simply, and lead with service. Bishops and cardinals were reminded to smell like their sheep, embodying the essence of pastoral leadership. In this vein, Francis found a powerful ally in Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, a man whose values and journey mirrored his own. Tagle's story begins in Manila, where his leadership as Archbishop reflected his deep commitment to the poor and marginalized. Known for his humility and ability to connect with people across all walks of life, he captured the spirit of Pope Francis's Field Hospital Church. Tagle's pastoral style, marked by compassion and a focus on practical service, embodied the vision of a church that serves rather than dominates. In the year 2019, Pope Francis elevated Tagle to the position of prefect of the congregation for the evangelization of peoples. This role, often called the Red Pope for its immense influence, placed Tagle at the heart of the Church's missionary activities. It was a deliberate move by Francis, underscoring their shared vision of reaching beyond traditional strongholds to engage with the rapidly growing Catholic populations in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Tagle's cultural sensitivity and theological depth made him the perfect partner in this mission. Francis and Tagle shared an approach centered on dialogue and inclusivity. Francis famously opened the Church to conversations and debates reminiscent of the spirit of the Second Vatican Council. He emphasized parrhesia, a Greek term for bold and open discussion, urging church leaders to speak truthfully without fear of judgment. Similarly, Tagle has consistently advocated for listening and engaging with communities, fostering a church that feels approachable and relevant in today's complex world. Together, they have championed a shift in pastoral priorities, focusing less on doctrinal rigidity and more on mercy, reconciliation, and simplicity. Francis, known for describing the Church as a field hospital for the wounded, envisioned a faith that prioritizes love and action over rigid orthodoxy. Critics of this approach have pointed to its potential to dilute traditional teachings, but Francis and Tagle remain steadfast. They believe that a church disconnected from the needs of the people risks becoming irrelevant. By prioritizing the poor, advocating for the environment, and addressing social justice issues, they are not abandoning tradition, but reinterpreting it to meet contemporary challenges. Tagle's rise to international prominence has been a testament to his alignment with Francis's mission. His ability to navigate complex cultural landscapes and inspire action has made him a beacon of hope for Catholics worldwide. This partnership is more than a strategic alignment. It reflects a shared belief in the transformative power of a church rooted in humility and service. As Pope Francis's papacy matures, the question of continuity is a big concern. Will the church continue on this path of reform and inclusivity? With leaders like Tagle at the forefront, the seeds of this vision appear well sown. Their journey together illustrates that the church's strength lies not in its structures, but in its ability to respond with compassion and relevance to the world's ever-changing needs. Looking forward, this approach explores Cardinal Tagle's evangelization efforts, particularly his impact on non-Western countries and his role in shaping the church's mission for the future. His work highlights the evolving face of Catholicism in a globalized world. Tagle's Global Faith Mission. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's leadership in Catholic evangelization reflects his unwavering commitment to spreading the gospel through compassion, cultural sensitivity, and inclusivity. From his early days as Archbishop of Manila to his current role as the prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, his approach embodies Pope Francis's vision of a church which goes forth to meet people in their concrete realities, transcending boundaries of culture and geography. Tagle's influence spans continents, particularly in regions where the Catholic faith is growing rapidly: Asia, Africa, and Latin America. These regions, often referred to as the future of the church, have witnessed Tagle's ability to adapt the gospel's message to diverse cultural contexts. His deep respect for cultural differences has been pivotal in building bridges of understanding and trust. In one of his many reflections on evangelization, Tagle emphasized the need for a spirituality of listening. He advocated that listening to both God and others with patience and attentiveness is the foundation of effective evangelization. A striking example of Tagle's pastoral heart was his leadership during Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines in 2013. Known locally as Typhoon Yolanda, it was one of the most powerful storms ever recorded, leaving destruction and despair in its wake. Tagle's response was not limited to providing immediate relief. He offered emotional and spiritual support to those affected. His compassion, coupled with his ability to connect with ordinary people, made him a symbol of hope and resilience. Whether comforting families in shelters or organizing large-scale relief efforts, Tagle demonstrated what it means to be a shepherd who smells like the sheep. Tagle's humanitarian work extends beyond his homeland. As president of Caritas Internationalis, a global network of Catholic charities operating in over 165 countries, he has championed causes such as poverty alleviation, climate action, and refugee support. He has consistently encouraged the faithful to embrace a spirit of sacrifice and share resources in a form of active love. During his presidency, Tagle spearheaded initiatives aimed at addressing the root causes of poverty and environmental degradation, urging both individuals and communities to take concrete actions to protect the planet and uplift the vulnerable. Young people in particular have been central to Tagle's mission. He has consistently reached out to the youth, inspiring them to take ownership of the church's mission. At World Youth Day in Lisbon in 2023, Tagle encouraged Filipino youth to become social media influencers with a purpose: to spread the gospel and advocate for justice, care for creation, and solidarity with the marginalized. His ability to engage with young people reflects his understanding of modern communications' power to bridge generational gaps and convey timeless truths. Tagle's inclusive approach is evident in his emphasis on interfaith dialogue. He has encouraged collaboration with people of other faiths to promote peace and mutual understanding, particularly in Asia, a region marked by religious diversity. His pastoral leadership in this area reflects a church that seeks not to dominate, but to walk alongside others in solidarity and respect. At the inauguration of the Veritas Institute of Social Communication, he spoke of the need to engage young people and women in the work of evangelization, recognizing their unique perspectives and contributions. Despite his many achievements, Tagle remains deeply grounded in his faith. He has often spoken about the necessity of a personal encounter with Jesus Christ as the foundation of any missionary activity. For Tagle, mission is not merely a task, but a vocation that flows from a heart transformed by the gospel. This perspective aligns with Pope Francis's call for a church that prioritizes authenticity and witness over bureaucracy and programs. The role of leaders like Cardinal Tagle becomes even more critical as the church seeks to balance its missionary mandate with internal reforms. This naturally leads to questions about the evolving dynamics within the church's leadership, including how figures like Tagle navigate tensions between tradition and reform. The Vatican Power Struggle. Under Pope Francis, the Catholic Church has experienced a profound shift, emphasizing compassion over rigid doctrine and fostering conversation rather than polarization. This reformist agenda has not only sought to modernize the Church's approach to pressing global issues, but has also brought internal tensions to the forefront. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, a staunch ally of Pope Francis, exemplifies this vision, embodying a pastoral leadership style that focuses on outreach, inclusion, and understanding. However, these reforms have sparked debates within the Church, creating a landscape where traditionalist resistance and reformist ideals often collide. Pope Francis's reforms aim to reorient the Church's priorities toward addressing the needs of the marginalized. His vision for a poor church for the poor has resonated globally as he has called for a focus on mercy, reconciliation, and active engagement with contemporary social issues. Cardinal Tagle, often described as Asia's Pope Francis, has been pivotal in this mission. Tagle's alignment with this agenda is evident in his advocacy for listening and dialogue, which he sees as essential tools for building trust and fostering understanding. His leadership in humanitarian initiatives, such as those with Caritas Internationalis, reflects this ethos of compassion in action. This approach, however, has not been without its critics. Traditionalist factions within the Vatican and beyond have raised concerns about the perceived departure from what they view as core Catholic values. Critics argue that the Church's increasing focus on social justice issues, such as poverty alleviation, climate change, and migration, risks overshadowing its spiritual and doctrinal responsibilities. For them, the Church's essence lies in upholding timeless teachings rather than adapting to the shifting dynamics of the modern world. Such criticisms highlight a deeper struggle within the Church, a tension between tradition and reform. While Pope Francis and leaders like Cardinal Tagle advocate for a more inclusive and responsive Church, traditionalists fear that these changes may erode its doctrinal foundation. This resistance has manifested in various ways, from vocal dissent to behind-the-scenes lobbying aimed at influencing the Church's direction. The friction between these factions underscores the complexities of navigating reform in an institution as historically rooted as the Catholic Church. One significant area where these tensions are particularly evident is financial reform. Pope Francis has made transparency and accountability a cornerstone of his papacy, recognizing the need to address long-standing issues within the Vatican's financial systems. Initiatives to clean up the Vatican Bank and implement stricter oversight measures have been met with both praise and resistance. These reforms are seen as essential for restoring credibility, especially in an era when institutions are increasingly scrutinized for their financial practices. Cardinal Tagle's role in this effort further illustrates his alignment with Francis's vision. As someone deeply involved in charitable and humanitarian work, Tagle has consistently championed transparency and ethical stewardship of resources. His emphasis on accountability in managing aid and donations mirrors the broader push for financial integrity within the Vatican. Yet these efforts have faced pushback from entrenched interests, reflecting the challenges of dismantling deeply ingrained systems. Despite these challenges, Francis and Tagle remain committed to their vision. Their leadership style emphasizes dialogue and collaboration, even in the face of opposition. Francis's insistence on parrhesia, or bold and honest communication, has encouraged open discussions on contentious issues, breaking with the Church's historical preference for top-down decision-making. Tagle, too, exemplifies this approach, often engaging with diverse groups to understand their perspectives and build consensus. The interplay between traditionalist resistance and reformist aspirations is not simply a matter of internal politics, it has profound implications for the Church's global mission. As the Catholic population grows in regions like Asia and Africa, where Tagle's influence is particularly strong, the question arises: how can the Church balance the need for cultural sensitivity and local engagement with its universal teachings? Leaders like Tagle, who navigate these complexities with humility and grace, offer a model for addressing these challenges. As the Church continues to navigate these internal and external challenges, the focus shifts to how this reformist agenda impacts its global mission. Speculating the Church's future. As Pope Francis's transformative papacy nears its later years, discussions about his potential successor have sparked widespread interest. Among the names frequently mentioned are two prominent figures whose distinct leadership styles reflect the ongoing tension between reformist aspirations and traditionalist roots within the Catholic Church. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle and Cardinal Pietro Parolin stand out not only for their global influence but also for the symbolic choices their leadership could represent for the future of Catholicism. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, often referred to as Asia's Pope Francis, has captured the imagination of Catholics worldwide with his reformist and pastoral approach. Known for his focus on the marginalized and his inclusive vision, Tagle has become a beacon of hope for those who see the Church's future rooted in compassion and dialogue. His emphasis on interfaith communication and his ability to adapt the gospel to diverse cultural contexts make him a formidable candidate in an increasingly interconnected world. Tagle's humanitarian efforts, such as his leadership during Typhoon Haiyan and his presidency of Caritas Internationalis, highlight his commitment to addressing the needs of the vulnerable while advocating for justice and equality. Under Pope Francis's mentorship, Tagle has embraced the reformist ethos, prioritizing listening and relational intelligence as foundational elements of leadership. His work as prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples has further solidified his reputation as a dynamic leader who understands the complexities of a globalized church. His rise within the Vatican, marked by humility and a willingness to engage with contemporary issues, resonates with Catholics seeking a church that feels more connected to their daily lives. On the other side of the spectrum is Cardinal Pietro Parolin, a seasoned diplomat and traditionalist who has played a critical role in Vatican affairs. As the Secretary of State, Parolin has been instrumental in navigating the Church through complex geopolitical challenges, from negotiating peace agreements to maintaining diplomatic relations with diverse nations. His expertise in diplomacy and his deep understanding of the Vatican's administrative structures make him a strong candidate for the papacy, especially for those who value continuity and stability. Parolin's leadership style reflects a more traditional approach, emphasizing the importance of maintaining the Church's doctrinal integrity while addressing the demands of modern governance. His ability to mediate between factions within the church hierarchy has earned him respect among conservatives and moderates alike. Unlike Tagle, who is often seen as a reformist figure, Parolin represents a cautious and measured approach to change, ensuring that any adjustments align with the church's long-standing traditions. The differences between these two leaders are as compelling as their shared commitment to the church's mission. Tagle's focus on the peripheries and his advocacy for a church for the poor reflect his alignment with Pope Francis's vision of a compassionate and inclusive faith community. His ability to engage with younger generations and address issues like climate change, poverty, and interfaith dialogue demonstrates his adaptability in addressing the Church's relevance in a rapidly evolving world. In contrast, Parolin's diplomatic acumen and administrative prowess position him as a stabilizing force within the Vatican. His approach emphasizes preserving the Church's core teachings while ensuring that its global influence remains intact. For traditionalists, Parolin offers reassurance that the Church's foundations will not be compromised in the pursuit of modernization. The potential election of either Tagle or Parolin as the next pope would send a powerful message about the direction of the Catholic Church. Tagle's ascendancy would signal a continuation of Francis's reformist agenda, focusing on inclusivity, dialogue, and outreach to the marginalized. It would also mark a historic moment as Tagle, a non-European, could represent the growing influence of the Global South in shaping the Church's future. Parolin, on the other hand, would symbolize a return to a more traditional papal model, emphasizing diplomatic leadership and a steady hand in navigating the complexities of Vatican politics. His election could appeal to those who believe the Church needs to balance reform with a stronger commitment to its doctrinal and hierarchical roots. This contrast between Tagle and Parolin mirrors the broader tensions within the Church: reform versus tradition, outreach versus preservation, and innovation versus continuity. While both leaders bring unique strengths to the table, their potential papacies would shape the Church's identity in profoundly different ways. As the conclave of cardinals prepares for the eventual decision, Catholics worldwide are watching closely, hopeful that the next pope will guide the church with wisdom and grace. The choice between Tagle and Parolin, or potentially another candidate, reflects the broader question of what the church should prioritize in the face of modern challenges. Looking beyond this leadership question, the church must also confront pressing issues that transcend any individual leader and how leaders like Tagle and Parolin may face these complexities. The future of Catholicism. The Catholic Church stands at a pivotal juncture, navigating a world of shifting demographics, cultural complexities, and global challenges. With its heart increasingly beating in Asia and Africa, regions experiencing rapid growth in Catholic populations, the Church's leadership faces the daunting task of adapting to these realities while staying true to its foundational principles. Leaders like Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle play a crucial role in bridging these transitions, offering a vision of compassion, inclusivity, and resilience. The demographic shift toward Asia and Africa signals a profound transformation in the Church's identity. While the number of Catholics in Europe and North America has steadily declined due to secularization and changing social values, these regions remain culturally influential. In contrast, Asia and Africa represent the future of the Church, with vibrant communities and increasing vocations. This shift challenges the Vatican to embrace cultural diversity more deeply and address unique regional concerns, such as poverty, interfaith dynamics, and access to education. Cardinal Tagle's background and experience in the Philippines, a predominantly Catholic country in a region marked by religious pluralism, exemplify the kind of leadership needed to guide this evolution. Cardinal Tagle's leadership offers a potential path forward. His emphasis on listening and dialogue aligns with the need for a church that engages with contemporary issues without compromising its core beliefs. By fostering relational intelligence and prioritizing compassion, Tagle demonstrates how reform and tradition can coexist. His work in humanitarian efforts and interfaith dialogue underscores the importance of meeting people where they are, a principle that resonates deeply in a world increasingly divided by cultural and ideological barriers. Global challenges such as climate change, migration, and economic inequality further complicate the Church's mission. Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si' highlighted the moral imperative to care for the environment, framing climate action as an act of faith. Leaders like Cardinal Tagle have echoed this call, advocating for environmental stewardship and urging Catholics to recognize the interconnectedness of social and ecological justice. Similarly, the Church's advocacy for migrants and refugees, often spearheaded by leaders like Tagle, emphasizes its commitment to being a field hospital for the wounded, offering hope and support to those most in need. Yet the Church's declining influence in traditionally strong regions, such as Europe and North America, poses significant challenges. The rise of secularism and the growing disconnection between institutional religion and younger generations demand innovative approaches to evangelization. Tagle's ability to connect with young people, particularly through digital platforms and social media, offers a blueprint for engaging new audiences. His message of inclusivity and active love resonates with a generation seeking authenticity and relevance. Bridging divisions within the Church itself remains a critical priority. The tension between reformists and traditionalists, while not new, has become increasingly pronounced in recent years. Cardinal Tagle and Cardinal Pietro Parolin represent different approaches to addressing these divisions, yet both recognize the importance of unity in fulfilling the Church's mission. Building trust among factions and fostering a spirit of collaboration will be essential for ensuring the Church's resilience in a polarized world. As the Church confronts these challenges, the evolving role of its leaders becomes ever more significant. Figures like Cardinal Tagle embody the potential for a compassionate and adaptable Catholicism, one that draws strength from its diversity and responds to the needs of a changing world. His leadership, marked by humility and a deep commitment to service, reflects the principles of Pope Francis's vision for a church rooted in love and mercy. The Church's future will depend on its ability to embrace its growing global identity while staying anchored in its mission. The demographic shifts toward Asia and Africa, the pressing need for environmental and social justice, and the challenge of engaging younger generations all point to a church that must innovate without losing sight of its spiritual core. As Catholics worldwide reflect on this journey, the Church's ability to navigate these transitions will define its impact in the decades to come. It is not just a question of leadership, but of vision, of building a church that truly embodies the gospel in all its dimensions. As the Catholic Church stands on the brink of transformation, the choices made today will shape its future for generations. Leaders like Cardinal Tagle offer a vision of hope, compassion, and resilience, but will this be the path the Church chooses? What kind of leadership does the Church need in these changing times? Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more insights into the stories shaping our world.